Welcome to our Meet the Team episode 5 or 6 now. We have a little bit of an extension to our team being interviewed with us today. So if anybody out there has mortgage related questions, this is the time to jump on, ask away. We will bring any questions on the air that are appropriate, and we're going to get to meet someone that I personally have used for my mortgage needs, and I've been working with. My father has been working with for a long time. I've been working with this person since I got in the business, and that person is Wendy Landis with McLean Mortgage. So let's bring out Wendy, and you want to bring out Charlie too? My father's going to jump on. There we go. All right, Wendy, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, and yeah, that was 11 years ago about that I started in the business, and I remember my father introduced me to you, and you probably had to hold my hand a lot, and probably rolled your eyes a lot when I sent things your way. So
Not at all. Not at all. But it's been awesome to see how the business has grown, and it's hard to believe that that's been 11 years. It makes me feel really old.
yeah, I remember you used to have those Wednesday wine, or maybe it wasn't Wednesdays, but you'd have those wine events when you were at the old CNF, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Gosh, that's been.
Yeah, those were fun.
Yeah.
No, but Wendy, you really are kind of an extension of the team. I just feel like we gel really well together. I think, we're very similar in many ways, and we balance each other in many ways. And we appreciate you. You're always available to us, and we refer people to you because you take good care of them. And it's illegal for us to get any type of kickback for that or anything. But we appreciate what you do. So tell us a
And I
little bit
appreciate you
about.
guys. Yeah.
Tell us a little about yourself, Wendy.
Okay. Well, let's go non-business side first,
Yes.
which I work a lot, so business is pretty core to who I am. But I've been pretty much in the York County area all but 6 years of my life. So we'll just say I'm a lifer. And I'm married to a terrific guy who owns his own business, Landis Custom Cabinetry and Woodworking. And we have one son who's getting married in June. So that's super exciting. And he just moved back into the area from being in the Northeast last June and is working for my husband, as well as still continuing to work for Sig Sauer, which is the company that he was working for and lived in the Northeast for. We have a dog named Bo. We have almost 10 acres of land and property that keeps us really busy. And my favorite thing to do there is gardening. And
oh gosh, when do you have time?
Well, then that's my biggest thing is finding time. But when I have time, and it's one of those things like even when I'm just walking along the stone paths into the house and there's weeds, like I have to pull them, and I just love keeping it tidy. And my favorite thing when I have like an hour or two is to go to a nursery and just drip around, and I never walk out of there empty-handed.
Okay. See, now I have excuses. I make excuses because I'm like, gardening is like such a ritual, like rhythm type of thing, and there's no like rhythm to my days because of the field we're in. So I've failed miserably at gardening. We're trying, but no, it's awesome.
Well, I pretty much do flowers. I haven't gotten into vegetables yet, but that was an aspiration for this year. But with the wedding just not happening, so.
Dad, how do you want to tell everybody how Wendy or got connected with Wendy?
Oh, wow. I got connected with Wendy a lot of years ago. I had been in the business a while before I met Wendy, but I was disaffected with some of the lenders that I'd been working with who didn't really treat my clients so well. And once I found Wendy, I wasn't looking anymore. Wendy's the one. She takes good care of my people and always has the best service that I can remember anywhere. So I'm not going anywhere. That's where I have to go.
Thank you. Yeah, that's been about 24 or so years.
Yeah, probably at least. Yeah. Yep.
Yep. I was in banking and made the leap over And even though I had a pretty good knowledge of credit and what it took, to get a loan and all of that, I was still learning the mortgage side and trying to make the connections. And Charlie was one of the ones to give me a shot, and I really appreciated it, and your loyalty over time. And then when Nathan came into the business, you were, like right away, like, you need to use Wendy, and I really, really appreciate that. That type of loyalty is just really hard to find in the world these days, and I very much appreciate it.
Sure. So, what's going on in the mortgage world right now, Wendy?
Wow. Well, it's crazy in regards to just the competitiveness of the market. And so, really, one of the hot points and things that people would always ask us is, what products do you have? What's unique? Right now, unique and variety of products aren't really what's getting the job done. It's really the basics. And so being able to help buyers figure out how they can qualify for a conventional mortgage, which is going to help them to be the most competitive, is really core right now. We have a number of different 3% down options. And with that, looking at Pennsylvania Housing Finance Agency for assistance if you need it for down payment and closing costs. And PHFA just came out with a new program that does help get a little bit more money in people's pockets than what the original program, which is still there and available. But really, it's really just helping people to be the most competitive that they can be. Rates are phenomenal. So that also really helps people to be able to qualify for more than what they would have, a year and a half ago, and what they will when they go back up. Because eventually, it's cyclical. It's going to happen. So just hopefully it will not happen too quickly.
And I think most people don't understand that there's a big difference between a good loan officer and a bad loan officer, and a good lender and a bad lender. So, I mean, I'll tell a quick story recently here. It happened, yesterday? I won't name who the other lender was, but it was, the buyer, and I think most people do that. They go to a place out of convenience. They bank there. I'm not telling you not to do that, but sometimes it may be in your best interest to talk to somebody your agent recommends. We don't get any kickback. We do this because we know it's in your best interest to talk to someone like Wendy. But this person was doing a conventional loan, and we know in this business that with the amount of money they had down, that should have been an easy 30-day closing for one thing. But there was also another thing that came into effect, which I think was really cool and could have been key to helping him get a house in this market, which was the appraisal waiver. Can you speak a little bit to that, Wendy?
Yeah, so appraisal waivers can be received if borrowers are purchasing a home and putting at least 20% down. We have to run the property address, and you have to run it correctly, meaning we have to look up the USPS property address and enter it in the system that way. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are the government agencies that oversee lending, and we're running it through their systems. And in their backgrounds, they have records on that home. They have record if prior appraisals have been done. They're looking at what increases in values are happening in that market area. They're looking at tax assessments, a variety of different information that it pulls in. And it's looking also at the risk of the borrower. And so if your borrower is pretty low risk and that information is there on the property, we can actually get an approval on an appraisal waiver, which means no appraisal is needed to document the file. That helps cut out the cost of the appraisal, which is about $500, and it helps with our timeline because appraisals are taking approximately 3 weeks, in some instances and areas more. So it is, and it can really help in that competitive market. So we've had great
I was just going to say,
as a team.
That's where it's big.
Yeah.
So people that, so if a seller gets offers, but some are saying, well, I'll go 20 grand over, but it's contingent upon a mortgage. A seller saying, well, is this 20 grand over any good? I might not get the appraisal for it. So, appraisal waivers, make you more competitive as a buyer if you can get. Of course, you have to be an excellent borrower, which, this one was, having the 20% down. That's no small feat to have for a lot of people, but that's big. So that's a good tool to have. And speaking of other tools, do you want to talk about your rate lock, or what is it? Rate
It's called Rate Flex. Rate Flex.
I almost said rate
Yeah.
float. I
This
butchered that.
is and it gives the ability to float down. So you're in the right ballpark there.
Thanks.
Rate Flex is an incredible program, and it is specific to McLean Mortgage. And when I came here and they first told me about it, when I came to training, I was skeptical. I was like, it sounds too good to be true. And I am a strong believer. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably really is. So I was very, very skeptical, but it is, it's not too good to be true. It is an excellent program that gives the borrowers the benefit of being able to reduce their rate if the rate falls between the time they lock in and up to 10 days prior to closing. So there's certain programs we can't use it on, but the core everyday programs we can. And the borrower pays 1/4 of a point, that's 0.25 of their loan amount, as a deposit. It is not a fee, it is a deposit. So it gets applied at closing, regardless of whether or not they get to lower their rate. But it enrolls them in the program that if the rate falls, they have the opportunity to relock one time. So it really gives you the peace of mind knowing that you're going to get the best rate possible. And so if you're locking in at the time you go under contract, that's your worst case, and it can only get better from there. And that's, just an excellent feeling to know that, you're not missing out on what, nobody likes the feeling of like, oh, I could have
dang it, I should have waited. Yeah.
No,
we've seen people take advantage of that. I mean, that's great.
Yeah, we sure have. And, last week, we had an uptick in rates, and they improved some last week, and I was able to lower 4 borrowers' rates on Thursday. And it's just a matter of a phone call. Hey, this is where we are. You want to jump? And they say yes. And I do a couple clicks in the system, and they get 2 papers to sign. It's great.
Yeah. Looks like my mother or somebody, maybe it's my Aunt Sue. They're all I don't know if they know, they're on my Facebook asking questions here. So I'll throw some of these out here if you want to answer them. Okay. I don't really like that one. Someone says, my mother said, can I buy with no money down?
So, no
not right
money
now.
down at all.
Not
yeah. So you can, but here's what I always tell people.
Pat. Pat. All right. Sorry, it was Pat asking. Pat, get on your own Facebook. He's a millennial. He doesn't even have Facebook. Or yeah, not a millennial. What's the next one? Gen Z.
Gen Z. Okay. Yeah. So you can buy with no money down. The difficult part is that when you go under contract, you need to be putting a deposit on the house. And typically that deposit is at least $1,000. And then if you're doing inspections, you need to be prepared to pay for the inspections as well. Now, we do not collect for the appraisal up front. So I tell borrowers that you need to be prepared for at least $1,500 up front for that deposit and inspections. They can, with USDA financing or VA financing, they can get that money back at closing if they are able to use a program to assist them, or if the seller is giving them seller assist to cover their closing costs. But that's one thing that a lot of people come initially as first-time home buyers, and they say that, they want no money down. And, then when I tell them, well, you would need about $8,000 or $10,000, that's the closing costs, and they don't realize the closing costs and how they add up. But, there are avenues that we can use to help with that, and, to try to help buyers to, get in with as little out of pocket as possible. Zero, it happens, but in this market, it's hard to happen right now.
I was just gonna say, in theory, yes, that is true. And my mother said that is what people always ask us. And I think some people, they hear things, and you hear no money down, and it sounds like no money down. I mean, literally, you can't blame someone for thinking I don't need any money. But there are 2 components to it. Money down on the loan, no. Closing costs, in most cases, yes, or at least in part. So
Yeah.
that's a
And
good question.
even the PHFA programs that offer the assistance, PHFA stands for Pennsylvania Housing Finance Agency. And
Mhm.
the programs that they offer, many of them require the buyers to have $1,000 as their minimum investment. And the idea is you need to have some skin in the game.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a financial advisor, but what I'm seeing in terms of success with buyers is save as much cash as you can to do it. So, and
Yep.
you don't want to be dependent on a seller. How are you going to negotiate with a seller if you're dependent on them for
Right.
money, right?
Yep. And you don't want to move in penniless either. So
Right. Yeah, exactly. There's a question that got thrown up on the screen there. Well, can you explain what manual underwriting is and how it is possible to buy a home without a credit score? That might be Pat too. I think he asked me about that, and I said I kind of tried to answer it, but I wasn't 100% positive. Oh, hey, let's do a shout out. Hugh Ledford, thank you for tuning in. He's been faithful, so appreciate you joining us. All right, go ahead, Wendy.
yeah, so manual underwriting is when the loan, okay, so I mentioned Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac and the government agencies that oversee underwriting, and they have systems that we have to run the loan through. It's called the Automatic Underwriting System, AUS. USDA has their own called GUS, Guaranteed Underwriting System. And so we always start by doing that first. But if there are certain risk factors on the loan, we may not get an approval through there, but we may still be able to do a manually underwritten loan. Now, with no credit score at all, it is a challenge because you have to be able to still show that there are debts, items that you are paying. They're just things that don't report to the credit bureau, like utilities, cell phone bills, that kind of thing. But you're going to get better terms and have more options in lending if you do have a credit score. And it's funny because we are finding that there are a lot of young people who aren't using credit. And, I always have the conversation with people like that of like, I'm not encouraging debt. There is a difference between having credit and having debt. So if you're using credit as a means of paying for things and you're paying it off every month, that is credit. Where debt is when you owe something that you're going to have an ongoing payment for. And there's good debt and there's not so good debt. The good debt is a mortgage because there's tax benefits to owning a home, and it's an investment that increases in value typically. Whereas credit cards, not so good debt because you're typically paying higher interest, it's unsecured. So, using credit as a means of paying for something is how you establish and show your ability to manage credit, and you'll put yourself in a better position to be able to qualify for a mortgage and a better
We also have a question. I think Pat wants to get approved for a mortgage. I think that's what it is. He wants to know the difference between a conventional and FHA mortgage.
Sure. Okay. So they're backed by different government agencies. FHA has a minimum required down payment of 3.5%. And what I always explain to people is not only do you need to qualify as a buyer, but the house has to qualify for the financing. So there are certain things that the appraiser is going to be looking for to make sure that it meets FHA's guidelines. And if it doesn't, they're going to tell us that certain repairs are needed. Then those repairs have to be completed and inspected prior to closing. And so sometimes, especially in this current environment, that does not set you up for the best success when trying to compete for a home because sellers don't want to worry about repairs. One of the other benefits of FHA, though, is that it does allow the seller to pay up to 6% in closing cost assistance. Again, in this market, that's really a challenge to get. And FHA is more lenient with their credit requirements. So you do have that benefit. So if your credit is not the greatest because of some things maybe you have in your background in your history, you may qualify for FHA and not qualify for conventional. If you have less than 20% down on a conventional loan, you have mortgage insurance. On FHA, you always have mortgage insurance, regardless of how much your down payment is. So one of the misnomers with FHA is that the mortgage insurance stays on forever. It does stay on forever if you put less than 10% down. But if you put 10% or more down on an FHA loan, then the mortgage insurance will fall off in 11
I don't
years,
know
the
if I've
same
ever
as it
seen
does on
anybody
conventional.
put 10% or more down on an FHA. That'd be rare
Yeah, we
circumstance.
have, if that credit score is, in the mid or lower 600s, but they have some money, and
Yeah.
and if they're looking at this being like a long-term home or maybe a forever home, FHA may still be a really good fit for them then, because if they're putting the 10% down, the mortgage insurance will go away just like it will in
Yeah.
conventional, but they're going to have a better likelihood of qualifying and a better interest rate than they will on a
Better.
conventional.
Okay. And maybe
Because
in mortgage
conventional,
insurance too.
they may, because on
Yeah.
conventional loans, the interest rate and the mortgage insurance is determined by your credit score.
Yeah. Laura Peters, thanks for joining us. She wants
Hey,
to
Laura.
have you explain paying points to bring down the rates.
Okay, so points are fees that you pay at closing in order to get a lower interest rate. So 1 point equals 1% of your loan amount. Generally, and this is a broad generalization because it does vary, but a half a point typically will bring down your interest rate about a quarter of a point. So you don't have to pay in full 1 point increments, but it's kind of the thought of, if you pay more now, you pay less over time. Okay, so that's the pretense to it. But you want to make sure that you're going to stay in the home long enough to recoup that money that you've paid up front in points. So depending on your scenario, it's anywhere from usually 3 to 5 plus years, 3 to 6 years to recoup that money. There are breaking points in the interest rates where it just doesn't make sense to pay any more than a certain amount, because you have to pay such an astronomical amount more to get to the next lower interest rate. But what's really cool with the rate teeter-totter is that you can also go to the other side, where if you are a little bit short on your funds, you can pay a little bit higher interest rate and we pay you points. It's called a lender credit. We don't call it points at that point. We call it a lender credit. But it's the same, it's just the opposite side of the teeter-totter.
Yeah.
One's going up, the other's going down, and vice versa.
All right. Thank you. All right. I'll put one last call out there for questions, but let's wrap it up. Unless, Dad, do you have anything for Wendy?
Oh, just wanted to ask Wendy, what right now with a good credit score, what's the typical conventional rate?
Low threes. Some I quoted a couple at 3 yesterday, at 3% even again. So we're back down to that point. Not down under 3 yet on conventionals, unless you're going for a shorter term. FHA is MVA and USDA are under 3 again, which is great.
What
good.
credit score? What's minimum credit score? I get that question too a lot.
So on conventional loans, it's 620. On FHA, our minimum is 600. So FHA actually allows you to go down to 580, but our investors won't go below 600.
Okay.
And
I always just tell people 620.
And there's a number of companies that aren't going below even 640 on FHA still, because a lot of companies increased the minimum scores with the pandemic.
Yeah,
so,
it was volatile for a while.
Yeah. And so, USDA is also 620, but it's really challenging to get approved USDA under 660. Okay. You have to have some strong compensating factors.
Okay. I don't have any other questions from the audience. Kayla says good info. Sue, I don't know if you're mic'd up. Do you want to ask Wendy any fun questions? I do have some here. I'll ask one, and then Sue, if you have one, I'll let you ask. But how about name something that most people would be surprised to know about you?
Oh gosh, I'm not a person of many secrets, so I don't know.
No?
I'm a pretty authentic. At least I try to be a pretty authentic person, so I'm out there. But I was invited to go dance with a kickline squad in Ireland. I was stupid enough to pass it up because I didn't want to leave my new fiance. I love to dance.
All right,
I
get
don't
up.
get to do
Let's
it
see
enough, but well, I was dancing to the music when you were at the beginning.
it.
You just didn't see it.
Sue, do you have anything?
I would say I'd like to ask Wendy if there was one person that you could hang out with, famous, not famous, dead or alive, just for one day, who would you pick?
Hmm.
Me or my dad? Which one?
Huh? What?
Said me or my dad? Which one? No, I'm just kidding.
Don't make me pick between the two of you.
No, I don't think I
No,
would do that.
like
I
I'm
think
not a person who
Jesus could
is.
beat me out.
I'm sorry.
I said
Jesus,
Jesus
yeah.
could beat me out.
Well, that's yes. Well, and that's what I'm like. Okay, so that's my number one is Jesus, um, and Paul from the Bible because he just
Yeah.
like to be such a rebel and turn. I'm like I just like to yeah just talk
Awesome.
hear his stories firsthand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's also a person who loves Jesus deeply that I love hanging out with, and I can never get enough time with her. And her name is Terry McComb, and she's a missionary down in Guatemala. And she is probably one of the strongest, most humble people that I know. And yet she is so kind and gentle.
Hey, Wendy,
I can never get enough time with her.
we have masks here that a friend of Nathan's, he's a missionary in, well, I think
Yeah,
it was
they
Guatemala.
used to. Casey used to be affiliated, I think, with
Yep.
Wendy's
With-
Oh, okay.
servants.
Servants.
You want to give a quick shout out for servants and the event you have?
Yeah, so Servants is an amazing nonprofit based out of Red Lion. Started 21 years ago by Trent Davis after he went on a trip to Guatemala, of which my husband happened to be on that trip, and came back just really with a sense that more people needed to have the opportunity to be able to go on short-term mission trips. And so he started Servants, and for the first few years, that was pretty much all he did was organized a trip or two a year to go to Guatemala, to a children's home, which is where he and my husband and that group went for that trip. And my husband and I joined in on going on those trips. It's been 9 years ago since I went on my first trip in January. But then Servants also branched out because there were a lot of people who were saying, well, that's great that you go to Guatemala, but there's so much need around here. And, Trent heard that and really prayed about it and was led to start a local ministry called Home Helps. And we help the elderly, disabled, and single parents to keep their homes safe and secure by doing basic remodeling, upgrading to their home. So if you know of anybody who is in need, we do have some suppliers who pay materials. Some people have the ability to pay materials, but all of the labor is always volunteer. And so we have a wonderful, amazing work teams that go out and do the work primarily on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. And then we also branched out and do storm recovery in areas of which are really hurt and damaged from natural disasters and have long-term recovery. And because our whole thing is about Servants is not just coming in and being like the fix it and cure and save the day. That's not who we are. We're about building relationships, coming alongside people who are hurting and broken and walking through life with them and helping them physically, but also really just emotionally, spiritually, just being there. So Servants is doing a gala, and it is on May 21st. And it's a major fundraiser for us. So if you are interested, it's going to be a virtual gala. So really easy for everybody to attend. No need to purchase a ball gown. And you can come out and enjoy the evening with us. We're going to have awesome auction items. And we're also looking for sponsors. So if you happen to know anybody who's a business owner or an individual who would like to sponsor, we would appreciate that too. But my husband and I do have the passion of we both sit on the board for Servants, so we have the passion for Servants, but we primarily serve through Servants by going to Guatemala. We hope and intend to go this October. It'll be the first time in 3 years, which
Wow.
There's a part of my heart that has just been hurting because I haven't been there in way too long.
Yeah,
You
no,
No,
awesome
hope it
work.
certainly
works
deserve
out.
the break. Not that it'll
Yeah.
be a
Thank you.
break, but something different.
Yeah, that is commonly that's my vacation, and people are like, "That's not much of a vacation," but it's like it's
It's
just so good
different.
for my soul. So to
Yeah.
me, that's my
Yeah.
refreshment, you know. So yeah, it's good.
Hey Nathan,
Makes sense.
I want to bring this up here too. We're gonna cut to just Wendy because I found this little tidbit on the
Okay.
internet here.
Oh no, I'm afraid.
I have no idea
Oh,
what this is.
hold on, Nathan. I got you. Actually,
I did it.
let's see here. So, well, let's see. What I really wanted is to
So,
put Wendy up there, and I saw that McLean Mortgage was one of the
Yeah,
top workplaces for 2021, which I mean that's saying a lot.
yeah, yeah.
I
It
think
really is. Well, and that is it's. I mean, it's well earned. So when I knew that I needed to make a move, I went looking for a company that had the same values as well as the service level
yeah,
that I was looking for. And there were two people that I really trusted that I reached out to and asked who they would recommend that I talk to. And McLean Mortgage was for both of them, was the first company out of their mouth. And, so I did talk to James Nader, the CEO, and I was completely wowed with how much his values, and thereby the company's values, because he's an amazing leader, and really does instill his values into the company, how much they aligned with mine. So I did go and I did talk to a handful of other companies because I felt like I really just had to. I couldn't make a decision with only talking to one company. But I have absolutely no regrets about McLean Mortgage. Myself and the entire team have just been thrilled to be here. And especially through the last year, I just can't imagine being anyplace else because everybody here just goes so far above and beyond to make the loans happen. And one of the things that I find the most endearing about James is he does a monthly call. And on that call, he typically tells us how many first-time home buyers we helped that month. That's
That's
just
cool.
near and dear to
yeah.
his heart. And he gets so excited over moving trucks being loaded.
Yeah.
And, that just really speaks to, again, his leadership and what our company stands for is like just helping people to achieve their dreams in home ownership. And so I love the company. It's an amazing
Good.
place that just really helps us. I know we've had a couple of other, we had one big situation on one of Nathan's
oh,
loans.
I almost brought this up. Yeah, go ahead. I think this speaks volumes to
Yeah,
what you guys can do. Go for it.
yeah. So yeah, a totally unforeseen circumstances. Client was selling and buying, and everything was going super, super, super smooth. And the day before closing, they were sent their document showing them how much they were getting from their sale, but they were so confident in everything being so smooth, didn't even look at it. Got to closing and turned out that they were getting much less back because they had a payoff that they had completely forgotten about, didn't know about, like just got dropped off the records in their minds. And so, but that loan, it was tied to their sale, the property they were selling that had to be paid. And so they had much less money. They had less than what they needed to move into the purchase. And, Nathan called me from that closing, and they were back-to-back closings. And we were able to revise our numbers. And it was just amazing because it was my processor, the underwriter, my closer that all had to be involved. They all dropped everything, made all the changes to the loan by lock desk. All of those departments they answered the phone when I called. They jumped in, made the changes that had to be made. We got the documents out, and I think we closed like 10 minutes later than the original slated closing time.
That was
Something like
insane.
that. It was crazy.
That is
But it's
that is
just a
the story we
testament.
have to tell.
It's just
You're
it's just a testament to who this company is, and it's our people. It's the company is the people, and these people at McLean Mortgage are just top notch and will go above and beyond. every day.
Yeah, that whole deal without you could have blown sky high. It was a miracle.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it was a
And
miracle.
the buyers had like moving help lined up. I mean, it was you were a hero.
Yep.
No,
They
and
didn't
you
have
know,
to
and,
change
and
darn thing.
like I say, it wasn't me, you know, because I can't on my own do it. And that's the key
Yeah.
when you said about, you know, good loan officers. A good loan officer is, you know, in my book and what I preach to my team, you know, you have to be responsive, and you need to be knowledgeable. Knowledge to me is just key. So, you know, you need to have those things to be able to do the job, but without the people behind us, and that's where the company comes in. It we can only do
Yeah.
so much. You know, we have so many other departments and so many other areas, and you know, even for us to get a transaction done, the number of different entities that are involved and the people that have to come into play with your settlement company and the homeowners insurance, inspectors, appraisers, you know, you all have to work together, and you need somebody who is going to make sure that all of those pieces are coming together. And that's where you and your team and me and my team, we work so well together. And because, you
Yep.
know, there's just, you have to stay on top of all those details.
Yeah.
It takes a team.
Yep.
Crazy.
That's
It's
right.
crazy.
My mom says Charlie got a hug out of that from the client.
Oh,
I
uh,
did.
Hugh is trying to recruit you for our Rotary Club, but you may be a little busy with the servants and your work. Well, I
right
appreciate
now.
the interview, Wendy. I think I told
Stick.
you we'd go 20 to 30 minutes, but let's
Yeah.
talk about the last thing I just want to mention is Wendy is and McLean Mortgage are sponsoring the Remax hot air balloon for tethered rides at Fourth Friday in Wrightsville. It's 450 South Front Street. Beautiful setting along the river. There's going to be live music. There's going to be trucks with crab cakes for, I guess, anybody that wants crab cakes, but there's also chicken tenders for the kids. Colby Mitchell will be doing balloon animals. It will be first come, first serve for the hot air balloon rides, so get there early if you want to do it. But Wendy, thank you for your contribution there and for everything you do for us and our clients.
Thank you. Back at you.
Hey, we're gonna end with our last slide here is Wendy's contact information.
All right.
Thank
Okay,
you.
go
Okay.
for it.
All right.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Wendy.
See ya.
Thanks,
Have a
Wendy.
great day all.